I have a friend who's an evolutionist and a scientist, which generally makes him doubly irritating for me. And we were in a bar not so long ago and we were talking about evolution, and he'd wound me up to a certain point that I asked him a simple question. And that question was, what did the first living organism on this planet eat? And he thought for a while and he said, bacteria. And I said, no, the question was, what did the first living organism on the planet eat? And he sat back and thought for a while. And he said, plankton. I said, there's a clue in the question here. What did the first living organism on the entire planet, what did it eat? And he thought for a while and eventually got the picture, and he said it absorbed minerals. I said, right. Or he said it absorbed light. Great. And did what with it? Well, turned it into energy. I said, right, so are we suggesting then that the first cell that popped into existence without any explanation, as far as I can see from any scientist, popped into existence with some internal mechanism to convert energy from minerals or light? You see, that's an extraordinary complex mechanism, whatever it is. And despite the fact that at the moment scientists cannot create life, even though they have a blueprint to copy, they have all the minerals and all the materials to make one, there isn't a scientist on the planet can create life. But we're expected to believe that this popped into existence. And then we're expected to believe that there was some inbuilt mechanism, massively complex mechanism, for converting minerals or light into energy. Yes, he said. Okay. These things are likely to have lasted anything from 20 minutes to 3 days. That's all they would have lived for. And they would have died. What happens then? And he thought again, and he said, well, it reproduced. Okay, so now we've got a cell, and the only way we know how to reproduce is by the splitting and remanufacture of a copy of DNA, which is the most complex, one of the most complicated things on earth. In fact, if you remember when they was doing the genome, it had the world's best, fastest computers trying to make out the sequence of one strand of human DNA. And yet now we're expected to believe that the first living organism on the planet popped into existence all by itself, even though all the brains in the world can't do that. It also then had some mechanism within it to be able to convert something into energy. And then on top of that, this is in the first 3 days of its life, somehow found DNA, copied it and made a duplicate. Does that sound believable to you? We got over that somehow. And then I asked him another question. Evolution relies on only 2 things. One is accidents or mistakes in the copying of DNA, and then natural selection. So the idea is the copying of DNA goes wrong. If that wrong or that mistake in DNA then ends up making a creature better or stronger or fitter, it stays and is reproduced. If it's weaker, it dies off. Those are the 2 key elements of evolution. There are trees on this planet that live for 2,800 years. You would imagine, wouldn't you, after all these billions upon billions, trillions of mistakes in DNA, just to make one human, you would imagine, wouldn't you, that somehow we'd have found a gene that would have made us live longer. Surely that is obvious. But it just gets walked over by evolution. They don't offer any reason. It's just, well, that's the way it is. Why would a tree live 30 times longer than a human? And another question. If everything is supposed to have evolved by accidents or mistakes in the copying of DNA, there are reckoned to be between 1 and 8 million species of creature on this planet. The thing that has made the human race so successful is intelligence. Some American scientists did some calculations and they added the intelligence of one of every single species on the planet together. And the intelligence didn't come to the intelligence of an 18-month-old child. So the question then is simple. Out of between 1 and 800 million species on this planet, why is there only one intelligent life force? Why is there only one intelligent creature on the planet? And then we move on to the population. The population of this planet doubles every 170 years and has done so rigidly right to as far back as records started, thousands of years ago. Every 170 years, between 165 and 170 years, the population doubles. So by simply halving the population and going back every 170 years and halving the population again and again and again, you end up at about 4,000 years ago, which was just about the time that Noah is supposed to have landed somewhere in his ark. And you end up with a handful of people. Nothing remarkable about that. Except that if Noah had landed 170 years earlier, there would now be 14,000 million people on this planet. And 170 years before that, there would be 28,000 million people on this planet. But according to evolution, humans have been on this planet for 50,000 years before that time. Now, even if you were to slow that process down of doubling the population every 1,000 years, if you start with 2 people and there's not 4 people for 1,000 years, you still end up with more people on the planet, hundreds of times more people than there are currently. So the question is simple. If evolution is correct, where are all the people? You see, I don't believe in God or a creator because I'm a member of some religion. That's not it. What religion, frankly, has done to the Word of God is frightening. I don't believe in God because I'm part of some sect. I don't belong to any religious organisation, and I won't. I believe in a creator for no other reason than evolution is the stupidest theory I have ever heard in my life. If you strip away what science keep telling us is a fact, and you look at some common sense from any angle, evolution is just a non-starter. And there isn't a scientist on the planet that can tell you where all the material used to create everything in the universe has come from. They can't even tell you where one stone in your hand has come from. They don't know. You would think under these circumstances of not knowing that they would at least give a creator a chance. But they dare not let God get a foot in the door. Science is as affected by fad and fashion as any other industry. And like any other industry, they are governed and ruled by money. They know exactly what to tell the press and how to get themselves in the news. Unfortunately, we have to accept that what they call it is evolution. My name's Derek Brown. Thank you for listening.